some countries ease coronavirus restrictions, there is another emerging mental health phenomenon, anxiety about life after lockdown. We chat to Dr. Nokukhanya Khanyile to shed some light on the issue. Welcome back to the show, Doc.
Hi, Afternoon Express. Hey, Bali, how are you?
I'm good, girl. You know, everyone has their days, and this is exactly what we want to kind of touch on today. Doctor, a lot of us have gotten used to staying at home with close friends and family, being isolated and social distancing. Now, how will somebody with existing anxiety be able to get used to everything all over again when lockdown opens up?
So this is very important, and it's such a great question because that will depend on what your life could potentially look like after lockdown. So what I mean by that is if you were working before, working from home, I think it'll be a little bit of a breather for you. It might even be a relief to actually get out of the house and get back into the swing of being in the office. But if you were like a lot of South Africans and struggling to find work and having to look out for some opportunities again, it might be a little bit more stressful because you're realizing that so many people are in a similar position. So it's important to, number one, try and think about now, before we get to the end of lockdown, what your plans are going to be. Write those things down and make a list, because it's important to have a goal and have some kind of idea about what you're going to do to minimize your anxiety. When you have a little bit more information, you know, those fears kind of minimize, and you'll be able to have a better outlook on the future.
Many people are concerned about whether their leaders might be lifting lockdown too early. To help reintegrate people into post-pandemic world, there needs to be clear communication from our leaders saying that it's okay now to hug people. It's okay to go to restaurants. So what is the right way to implement this without creating a stir?
I think what a lot of people don't understand about lifting of the regulations is that we're not lifting it because corona is improving. We're lifting the lockdown because our government is better prepared for the consequences of people catching coronavirus and becoming ill. So what you must know is that at some point you may potentially be exposed to someone with coronavirus, but our government has listed a lot of plans that have been in place in order to make sure that they deal with the consequences. What I can hope that the government is going to do is make us very aware of what those plans are, where people can get help, and clearly communicate what people need to do if we need to go back into lockdown, or if we're going to be able to be free and have a level 0 lockdown in effect. I think our government is doing a great job already, especially with communication towards the public, but I would like some more clear guidance from a medical point of view as to what is expected of me, and also with regards to people having to quarantine and isolate. How are we going to make sure that those people are able to not lose their jobs, have job security, and be definitely in a better place during this post-corona period?
Communication is key. The trauma, like the virus, will not simply disappear. For some, it will continue to linger in our memories, daydreams, and nightmares. What can we expect, and what measures can we take?
So it's important to understand that post the lockdown, there's so many different things that people will be exposed to, not just in your financial lives, but also just getting back into the swing of getting into your life. So you can expect a lot of overwhelming feelings that could come from, you know, being anxious, being nervous about getting back into the world, but also an excitement about seeing people again, you know, getting back to seeing your friends and your family, and even young children getting back to seeing their friends at school, getting into the swing of things again. It's important to just realize that you are overwhelmed, and it's okay. Take it one day at a time, one experience at a time, and try as much as you can to share your experiences with the people around you, because you'll actually find that a lot of people have similar experiences to you, and that'll make it a lot easier for you to go through whatever you're going through without feeling like you're alone.
Yeah, you touched on children, but quarantined parents could inflict long-lasting psychological trauma and seem to develop a wide range of symptoms such as insomnia, stress, anxiety. I mean, the list definitely goes on. So what advice do you have for parents who will need to conform into a new way of living?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking that question, Bali, because I feel like a lot of parents feel that they're responsible and they have to take care of their kids, but they feel so burdened because they themselves could be going even through a situation of where they're burnt out. For those parents, I think it's important, number one, to have a schedule with your kids, not just post-lockdown, but even now. Make sure that everyone wakes up and goes to sleep at the same time, and have some kind of schedule that involves work time, playtime, but also family time. That gives you as a parent the time that you need to work. And if you're lucky enough to have another parent, you can even alternate so that you guys will be able to share the responsibilities. If you're alone and you're all in one space, talk to your kids, communicate to them that mommy or daddy needs to work. I'm unable to play with you right now, but then provide some kind of space where they can play drawings, give them a fun program to watch, give them a game that they can play outside. If there's other neighbors as well, they might be able to play with those neighbors, making sure and teaching them social distancing and good hygiene practices. And you'll actually find kids are a lot more understanding than we give them credit for.
And on that note of self-distancing and isolation, this may be extended even after lockdown has ended. Without appropriate human contact, many people may be at risk of prolonged grief disorder and complicated grief. So how can these individuals be able to overcome this?
Sure, and complicated grief is such an important topic that people don't really address because they think they're alone and they don't understand that, grieving moves through different stages. What you can do is to address this is educate yourself around it, read about the 5 different stages of grief that you move all the way through to acceptance. And one of the things I always tell people is don't rush the process. I think it's important that you experience what's happening at that moment. And even if it means you move forward and backwards through various stages until you get to the point where you accept what's happening to you, that's completely okay. And you should be given the space in your spirits to do that and move through that. The other thing about grief is that a lot of people don't share what they're feeling, and so it's important that you need to talk to the people around you and share your emotions, share your thoughts, because a lot of them, especially people who are prone to mental illness, can let those feelings become overwhelming and actually can become more detrimental. So thank you for asking that question, Bali.
Wow, and what an eloquent answer. I hope everyone at home took note. Now, what are some of the tremendous after effects with children and spouses under lockdown with alcoholics, drug addicts, and violent family members?
So, you have the added dimension, already so many families are stuck in the same place. There's a lot of tension. People are fighting about small things. But now you add the element of substances and also domestic or gender-based violence. And I think it's important for people to understand that, number one, in no way is that anyone's fault. It is not right, and you have not done anything to deserve that punishment or whatever it is that they call it in order to implement that kind of action on you. Secondly, if you're in a place where your life is at risk, please do not be ashamed to get out of that position. You're not weak. You're not a person who can't deal with their problems. You're actually in a dangerous place and you need to get help. So please reach out to a family member, a friend, or even your local police or hospital service so that we can get you the help you need, but also that we can make sure that you are safe, because substance use is, it's been minimized because of all of the restrictions that have been placed on the lockdown. But as we go back into post-lockdown era, things could go back to normal and people may have not done the work that they needed to do now to get over that. So please keep yourself safe.
Yeah, and here on Afternoon Express, we keep bringing up these issues. So if you are experiencing some of these injustices and abuse, please head over to our website and find the help that you so desperately need. Moving on, Doc, what are some of the moral injustices from healthcare workers being asked to reuse protective equipment whilst knowing it can harm them?
Oh gosh, Bali, I can talk about this the whole day, but I think one of the things that we are used to, and it's not a good thing in the government sector, is that we're used to a lack of resources. So we've become very innovative in the way that we maximize our use of those resources. Having said that, it is a bit frustrating because, when you wear the same mask the whole day, you have to store it, and then when you eat, you have to put the same mask back on. It's quite uncomfortable, but at the same time, as healthcare professionals, we understand why we have to do it. It's not the best option. It's not the one we would choose. And if we could, we would just try and buy our own supplies. But of course, that gets too expensive. So we just urge people to please donate to the Solidarity Fund. If you can, speak to hospital CEOs and ask them how you can contribute, because really it does help us to have a fresh mask every day, and every time we have a different meal. It's so much of a relief when we don't have to wear the same mask.
Hi, Bo. These are some of the things we overlook. Everybody at home, a little bit goes a long way. Donate to the Solidarity Fund and help out the many proud doctors like our Dr. Khanyile, who keeps helping. Siyabonga, Sisine. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. We appreciate you stopping by.
Nami ngibongile, and thank you to everyone. You guys are on the front lines. We are the last line of defense. So if you stay safe, wear a mask, socially distance, wash or sanitize your hands. You guys are going to keep us protected. So thank you, South Africa.
And on that note, cheers, Doc.
Bye.
Although we don't know exactly when, at some point in the future, self-isolation will end and many of us will return to offices, restaurants and churches. We will return to a new normal and each of us will have repair work to do as we re-enter the world of physical proximity to co-workers and reconnecting with friends. Thanks to Dr. Khanyile for joining our discussion this afternoon.